Hi there, I'm Pat from Pat's Brewery, and
welcome to Beer Masters.
No, it's not. But that show did give me an idea for my next beer. So, in the first episode of Beer Masters, the contestants are given the challenge of creating a casual drinker's beer, a new to beer drinker's beer, something that will kind of get someone on board with drinking beer that maybe is used to drinking other drinks or maybe not drinking alcohol that much at all. There's a couple of parameters to this beer, and they were that it needed to be between 4 and 6%. It needed to be a combination of 2 beer styles, and the third one was that it needed to have an ingredient that was local to your area. Now, based off of the title of this video, you've probably worked out what it is, but there are some strawberry farms not too far from where I am, so that's going to be our local ingredient. Whether or not the strawberry farms will actually be open or not, that's questionable. I haven't checked yet, but even if they're not, the thought that counts. Right? I'm using the inspiration from them. So I'm going to be adding strawberries into my beer. That kind of half ticks off the second criteria of 2 styles. So, you know, strawberries makes it into a fruit beer. Also, the other style that I'm going to be going with. So I'm going to be going with a blonde ale. Very classic, very standard English blonde. I'm not thinking anything too crazy with regards to flavours on the actual ale side. All of the big boost of flavours going to come from that strawberry. So effectively we've got ourselves a strawberry blonde ale. Who doesn't like a nice strawberry blonde? So we've got our 2 styles, and that's not an issue. The percentage also not a problem, and as I say, depending on local supply, we've got our strawberries. I'm also going to be using East Kent Goldings as my hops, because, you know, as the crow flies, they're just across the water from us. So let me just go through the recipe for this. What we've got is 62% pale malt, that's around 3.31 kilograms. We're going with some crystal malt, crystal 20, that's going to be 7.1%, about 380 grams. Then some Cara Pils, about 140 grams, that's 2.6%. And then we're finishing off with some wheat malt, which will be 28.2%. About 1.5 kilos. With regards to hops, mentioned East Kent Goldings. What we're going to be doing is throwing them in at boil, about 50 grams of East Kent Goldings at boil to get us about 19.1 IBUs. Then we're going to be doing a flame out of about 10 grams of East Kent Goldings, which, if you follow Beersmith, would add about 1.2 IBUs, but that's questionable with regards to how much bitterness you really get at a flame out. Shouldn't get much at all, really. Almost forgot, we're going to be using a London ale yeast for this, because, as I say, we're going for a classic English blonde, so London ale yeast I think should fit that bill quite nicely. With regards to the strawberries, as I say, they're going to be going into secondary, or chances are I might just keep it in the primary and let it all just mix in there. But it's going to be going in after 4 days, maybe between 4 and 7 is when we're going to be sticking the strawberries in there, and then we're going to let that sit for about a week and a half before we transfer over to a keg. With regards to how much strawberries, I'm looking at a minimum of 2.5 kilos, although recently I have seen a few recommendations of 3.5 kilos or even more. So I'm umming and ahhing at the moment. We'll decide closer to the time. I think now's about time we start brewing. So I realised I didn't actually give the OG gravity. It was 10:56, and now it's been 1 week later, and we're about to add our strawberries in. And at the moment, I'm just taking the final gravity reading, which comes out at 10:15. It's 1 point higher than the app suggested, but overall, that's not too big a deal. For those of you that are maths whiz will already have worked out that that means that I have got an ABV of 5.4%. Just a heads up, after editing this I realised that later on in the video I say it's 5.6, so silly old me. Ignore that. So yeah, we've been able to get our strawberries into the all-rounder. Now that was a bit of a challenge considering it's very much square peg and round hole, but with a little bit of assistance from the other half was able to get the bags of frozen strawberries in there. Use frozen strawberries just as a method of trying to avoid any nasties getting into the beer. So, the brew day went pretty well. The dry hopping, or the fruiting, well, that had its moments. Kegging, no issue. And now the proof is in the tasting. Let's see how this thing pours. So there we have it, our strawberry blonde English ale. So we set ourselves 3 criteria for this beer, maybe 4. The first one was that it needed to be between 4 and 6%. I can tell you that we did meet that criteria only just. We were at 5.6%. So perhaps my cavalier attitude to being able to hit that criteria wasn't quite so justified. We'd done it, but could have gone over quite easily. The second one was it was the mixture of the 2 styles, and we have succeeded in doing that. I'll give you the full descriptions in a bit. And then the local area ingredient was the third, which is the one that I'm least happy with because I actually had to go to the county next door, that is Kent, to supply not just the hops but also the strawberries that we used. Damn them Kents. But in all honesty, as I say, Kent's not that far from us, so you know, as the crow flies, we're practically there. The last criteria, which was actually that this needs to be a nice, easy drinking, casual beer. Yeah, I'd say we are there. So let's do a little bit of the tasting notes. The nose isn't overly powerful. The nose, I might be picking up a little bit of strawberry, but it's very subtle. Which, you know, to some I think that might actually be a benefit because, you know, you say strawberry beer and some people will turn their nose up, but if you can hardly smell it, then they won't. On the taste, you're getting the nice kind of herbal aspects from the East Kent Goldings, but there is definitely that a fruitiness that is coming from the strawberries that is not a flavour that I'm familiar with regards to any of the hops I've ever used, and it's definitely not something that you'd get from EKG. So that is, you know, a really nice, you know, inclusion of that strawberry flavour. Now, with regards to the colour, we are a little bit cloudy. Now, that is because this is could be because this is one of the first pours that I have done of this, so got to accept that there might be a little bit of cloudiness due to that, with the beer settling out in the keg at the moment. Colour wise, I'll be honest, I was expecting a little bit of a more reddish tone. Let's see if, now shining light through it like that, you are getting a little bit more, maybe a little bit more orange than gold based off of that. Obviously, how you shine light through it will determine what it really looks like. But overall, I'm not actually disappointed in the colour that much. A slightly more reddish hue would have been interesting, but going back to that fourth criteria of getting someone, a casual drinker, on board with this, I think sometimes something like a red beer might not get them on board. So having them go, okay, it looks like a beer, but having it, you know, slightly that more fruity aspect in the taste gives a nice intro. You know, they won't be too scared off. Now, with regards to carbonation, obviously you saw that there wasn't any head on this. Now, that's actually more due to my kegging than to the beer itself, I think. I just checked, and actually I had the PSI all the way down to like 2, so it's only been in the keg for about 4 days, so you know, I'm not expecting anything great with regards to the carbonation yet, although I think actually this one will benefit from being kept at a slightly lower carbonation level. You know what, I'm going to say that this is quite a success. So there we have it, the Strawberry Blonde Golden Ale, ticking all of the right boxes. I'd like to thank everyone that has subscribed recently. We're just a little bit short of 100, so if you've got this far in the video and you're not subscribed, please do, and catch you next time.